Hey, you know what's cool about having this YouTube studio up and running here is we don't have to, as producer Fraser points out, we don't have to fill any hour to be enslaved to a schedule. We can do whatever we want. And so on a day like today, where two of our guests have canceled at the last minute, where Special Ed has decided it's a good day for fishing on Lake Huron, where Steve Meisner has decided he's just going to jump in the car and drive up to Kitchener, and I'm here all by myself. All I got to talk to you about is the news. And fortunately, we had Charles Taerk here. And if you don't remember who Charles Taerk is, he is the co-manager of the Ninepoint UIT Alternative Healthcare Fund that is one of the larger institutional cannabis investors in Canada. And he is going to join us to talk to us about some of his investments. He is going to talk about some of what is going on in the US, and he's going to give us his outlook for what he thinks is going to happen in cannabis markets. And I happen to know that he has a pretty rosy disposition when it comes to the state of cannabis markets. Now, we have implemented a few new things at MidasLetter.com, which if you are one of our loyal watchers, listeners, readers, followers, I encourage you to check out. You can now watch us on YouTube if that's where you prefer. That's fine. Nothing wrong with YouTube. We don't mind Google and YouTube hiving off all of our traffic and jamming their stupid ads in front of it. We don't mind. You can watch it on Facebook. We also don't mind Facebook selling all of our data out from underneath us so that we can be sold bazillions of different versions of different things that none of us need, none of us really want. However, if you just like to watch the show without being bombarded with all of this nonsense, you can watch it on MidasLetter.com. And the cool thing is, now, here's something that you will never see happen on TV. I'm going to take a call. And this is from a pretty strokey broker I know. Dana! You want to know what's going on right now, Dana? I'm going to put you on speakerphone. You know why?
Tell me.
You are live on the Midas Letter live show right now, live to Facebook and YouTube. Can you believe that?
Well, no, you can't say I'm on because I'll be a celebrity like Ed Molesky, and I can't have that happen.
You don't want to be a celebrity?
No, Ed, I don't want to take Ed's thunder. Ed is, he's become the new influencer, I understand.
You've heard.
Yes, I heard.
We've made him a, see? Good news travels fast. We made him a star.
You made him an overnight success.
I know. And Stevie Meisner's back in the mix too.
I know. You've got. It's like the Smothers Brothers. I mean, you've got. But I said, if you stick around this business long enough, you'll see everything. And now Eddie's turned into some type of stock market guru.
Yeah, he was supposed to be on the show today, but he went fishing. You know that he is the guru. He's the technical. He's the technical analysis guru.
I know. Who knew? I think that's great. That's fantastic, son.
Yeah. So when are we going to have you on the show, Dana?
Oh, I know. Sorry, son. I have to. I don't. If you Google me on the internet, I don't appear anywhere. So I like it that way. So
you like being anonymous and off the air, huh?
Exactly. Especially when I'm selling stock.
Hey, Dana, let me ask you, what's your favorite cannabis stock?
My favorite cannabis stock? What else am I going to say? ICC, of course. That's my favorite.
International Cannabis.
The only place where we're actually selling it, everybody else talks about selling recreational marijuana. We're actually selling it.
Really? Well, that's great. Well, I should take a trip down there to Uruguay and check out the operation.
Oh, yeah. We're just completing the only oil lab in South America. So that's quite a thing. It's almost done. So
yeah.
You should come down and check out the only, get a little report there. And,
I would love to.
Bring the camera down.
Yeah.
I'll hook you up with them, and you could do a whole thing on and actually see how it's expanding. We're in 15 pharmacies now, and it's lined up around the block. So it's really
you got revenue
shaping up really well.
Fantastic. Okay, well you make that happen.
We just harvested. I don't know if you're up with the story, but we just harvested our outdoor crop, which was the largest outdoor medical crop ever produced produced in the world. So I forget how the number's crazy, but we're just drying it out now, right? It's going to start going through the lab.
Yeah, so you're talking ICC.
Really well.
Yeah, that sounds great. So you're talking about ICC Cannabis here. They changed their name, didn't they?
Yeah, ICC Labs is called, yeah.
ICC Labs, and what's the symbol?
ICC, son.
Boy, that's a tough one.
Exactly. Go figure.
Who would have guessed? Anyways, are we going out for a drink today? Is that why you're calling?
Of course. I'm trying to. We're long overdue, son. Long overdue. So
Where do you want to meet for a beer?
See if you're around.
I'm here. I'm here. As soon as we're done with this show that I'm on with you right now, I'm going to go and meet you for a beer.
Okay. Well, why don't we? You know where the old on the other side of Key, on the other
Farniente?
side of Key, yeah, the old Farniente. They've opened up a great little bar outside there.
Yeah, the Walrus.
Right outside there. It's amazing what they've done with that.
I'll see you there at what?
There, say at 5 o'clock. Perfect, son.
See you there.
Okay, bye.
Bye. There you have it. That was a guy. He's a broker with a local firm, and they were one of the big financial supporters of ICC International Cannabis, which was one of the, if not the first, I think it was the first cannabis company to be in South America, trading on the Canadian exchange. And they're based in Uruguay, and Uruguay was actually the first country in the world to legalize recreational and medical cannabis. It wasn't Canada, but Canada was the first G7 nation, so everybody likes to pretend that Uruguay doesn't count or matter. Anyways, as I was saying, we have this new issue with our site, which is that it's down. So you can't be watching on our site, so hopefully one day you'll be able to, because theoretically we're going to move servers, because this is like the third time this server company has left us in the lurch. So I'm getting to the questions now here on the YouTube page, and I'm pleased to see that Mr. Lancelot has joined us once again. Stefan Mueller is here, Modern Picasso, Laura Bamford. Any news from the Canopy Media Conference? Well, boy, I'm going to sound like a complete boob, Laura, if I have to say, what Canopy Media Conference? I certainly wasn't invited, if there was one. Anyways, we have a lot going on around here, so we actually don't keep up with everything. Nick G says, hey yourself, Nick. Hay is for horses. Anyways, today we're going to have, there's Ian Hendry over on the Facebook site. Send Ed. Ian wants us to send Ed. Maybe we will send Ed. That would be good. So there's a few interesting guests today. As I was saying, Charles Taerk is going to be here at, let's call it 3:30. We are having Martin Doane from a company called Leviathan in here at 4 o'clock. We are going to have the lovely and talented and ever so charming and cute Suzanne Garcia here at 4:20 with another cannabis product reveal. And what else we got here? We have... that's about it. So, not a lot to tell you today. I think we should look at some news. Oh, yeah, waking up over there. Ho-ho! Oh, God, I'm back and there's still no news. Any second now. I swear, any second now. And now the news. News now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. News! No news. Okay, tell you what I'm going to do? I'm going to read the news again. How about that? The news is pretty astounding today. This is in the news. Do you want the news? Here's the news. I've got the news, and here's the news right now. Aphria Inc., symbol APH, trading on the TSX, announced they have successfully completed the divestiture, try to say that word, of the company's ownership interest in Copper State. The original investment was worth about $11.1 million, but when they sold it for $20 million, so they got a gain of about $8.8 million. Wow. Lots of news in the Canopy universe tonight. So somebody, Laura, you were asking me about the Canopy media show. Well, maybe this is what you're talking about. Nah, I don't think so. Anyways, Canopy today announced that they had launched their Colombian effort. They had acquired a company which is now called Spectrum Cannabis Colombia. And that company is expanding the company's focus on advancing medical cannabis and capturing market share across the Latin American region, which is, as you may or may not know, home to over 600 million pot-smoking people. And as individual nations modernize their cannabis legislation, Spectrum Cannabis looks to be there. I wonder what the cost per gram of production is in a country like Colombia. Anyways, Spectrum Cannabis Colombia will serve as a regional production and processing hub for Canopy Latin America. The company also announced that it has closed its previously announced transaction to acquire the remaining 33% of the company it's already owning 66% of BC Tweed. Now, this consolidates the two largest federally licensed cannabis facilities in the world, which will give Canopy an edge in supplying their large recreational contracts across Canada. So the Government of British Columbia also announced that Canopy and British Columbia or rather New Brunswick, had created 136 local jobs in the booming cannabis sector over the next 6 years. The jobs come as part of a $40 million investment by Canopy into the company's Fredericton-based production facility and will ensure the needs of New Brunswickers and Canadians are met when legalization comes into effect on October 17th, 2018. Do you think everybody's going to be high after October 17th? It certainly sounds like all these cannabis companies want us to be high. Hi, how are you? Hi. Speaking of Colombia, our pet project and client, Chiron Life Sciences Corp, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol KHRN. They've been doing very well. They've announced that the Colombia National Food and Drug Surveillance Institute has granted Chiron authorization for the production, sale, and export of 4 additional CBD-based products for skin and body care. With the addition of these 4 new products, Chiron now has authorization to commercialize 8 products, strengthening its position as a medical cannabis industry first mover in Colombia and Latin America. I wonder if it's going to ultimately become more expeditious for Canopy Colombia to just buy Chiron, because Chiron's really got a head start. It'll be interesting to see. It's going to be quite the dust-up between those two companies, David and Goliath all over again. 13 cannabis companies, count them, 13 cannabis companies have all announced they've entered into supply agreements with the Alberta Gaming, Liquor, and Cannabis Commission. Gaming, liquor, and cannabis. So let's get drunk and stoned and get some guns and go shoot up the bush. I'm staying away from Alberta for the time being. Anyways, the companies who have successfully got themselves a supply agreement in Alberta include, now this is a long list, I said 13, right? Aurora, Aphria, Canopy, CanTrust, Marican, the Supreme Pharmacy Company, the Supreme Cannabis Company, Haiku Brands, Organogram, MedRelief, Abcan, Emblem, WeedMD, Up Cannabis, and the only private one on the list, Starseed Medicinal Inc. That is a pretty impressive list. And finally, in our news flow today, Nutritional High with the symbol EAT. EAT, get it? Eat high. Anyways, they announced their Q3 2018 financial results. The company had raised $8 million in a convertible debenture to finance corporate infrastructure acquisition and expansion into other states. Revenues for the period were at a very impressive, and I've got to say I'm kind of blown away, $2.7 million, an increase of 408% over the same period last year. I didn't even know that they were making money. A lot of that came from the acquisition of Calyx Brands, which they completed in March 2018, $1.67 million of sales came through Calyx brands. So, which demonstrates the, I don't think it is an old saying, it's a kind of a new saying, if you can't build revenue, buy revenue. Does that sound correct? Anyways, through partners and wholly owned subsidiary acquisitions, Nutritional High now has a presence in 3 key local North American cannabis markets, that being California, Colorado, and Illinois. Anyways, Illinois, we had a conversation with Chuck Taerk, and he mentioned to us today that Illinois was amending its compassionate use of medical cannabis pilot program such that the state will allow through June 30, 2020, any patients currently using opioid medication to switch to cannabis medication. Anyways, we'll look at that interview in a second. I'm going to look at some of the questions now on YouTube and Facebook. I see we've got Mr. Hank Krausenberg has joined us on Facebook. Hello, Hank. And Ian Hendry is still hanging out there with a bottle of whiskey. Rawr. Let's see, on the YouTube front, Mr. Lancelot is trying to engage with Suzanne. He says he can't wait for the 420 part of the show. What does that tell you, Suzanne? Ooh, somebody's got a fan. Anyways, we're going to cut now to the... Are you ready in there for the interview with Charles Taerk? Yeah. Cut to that because our guests are just walking in right now. Hello, Shabana. How are you? Hey there, welcome back to Midas Letter Live. I've got a regular guest in the chair opposite me. Charles Taerk is the manager of the
Ninepoint UIT Alternative Health Fund.
That is a mouthful, and that is a fund that we've been following with interest because why don't we start with performance this time?
Yeah, sure. Very happy. Just finished our 6-month number. Year to date, the fund is up close to 10%, 9.37%,
wow.
Which is great relative to the passive ETFs and the index, which I think are still negative on the year. Mm-hmm. So we're very, very pleased with that. We're actively managed. We're buying some privates. We can own up to 10% in private equity. And we can hold cash occasionally when the market is weak. So I think that combination gives people a good risk-adjusted way to be in the cannabis space.
Okay, let me ask you, is this a long-only fund or do you also entertain short strategies?
I know we're a long-only fund.
Oh, okay.
So our short,
white hats.
Our short is we can go to cash.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we're not shorting.
Interesting. There's been some great developments in the U.S. Last week, the FDA approved the first ever cannabis drug, and it is a treatment for epilepsy. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, so we talked about it a month or so ago, back in April. GW Pharma is the name of the company. They're a UK biopharmaceutical company listed on NASDAQ.
Okay.
And they have a drug called Epidolex that's gone through clinical trials. The FDA advisory committee voted unanimously in April to recommend it to the FDA to give it a drug identification number, a DIN. And it would be basically blessed as a medicine, not a cannabis medicine.
Right.
And so at the end of June, the FDA did it, and that was shocking. So they made Epidolex a drug fully approved by the FDA.
Wow.
And that has significant ramifications. There's a lot of dominoes that are now going to fall based on Epidolex and its leadership.
Wow.
So
interesting. So that seemed to happen in an accelerated basis because usually the FDA doesn't it take years to get a drug through that process?
Well, yeah, it depends on the types of medication and the types of trials that that have been taking place.
Okay.
But the dominoes that are going to fall are really significant, both in the U.S. and around the world. So this is the first botanical cannabis medication to get a DIN, and that means that this product, Epidolex, will be available for drug benefit plans and healthcare coverage, widely distributed.
So this is as legitimate as cannabis can get in terms of the medical world.
And doctors understand that when a drug gets a DIN, it's based on the efficacy and the results of its clinical trials. So doctors now become more comfortable with the prescription related to this medication. It treats a certain form of epilepsy. And so very, very significant both for the drug, for the company, and for U.S. regulators, because now with the FDA approving it, we turn our attention to what the Drug Enforcement Agency may have to do, which is potentially deschedule marijuana. It's been a controlled substance, a Schedule I controlled narcotic for many years, and it was based on the fact that marijuana had no medicinal value. Well, now the FDA dispels that, and so what does the DEA do? And so we just think it's another major step forward in terms of reducing the stigma, reducing the regulatory rigidity in the United States.
Right, so that's going to likely catalyze a lot more new drugs derived from cannabis coming out of the entire medical community.
Correct, yes.
Interesting. Do you think that that is, in and of itself, would you consider that a value catalyst for the sector generally? Well,
I think it should be. You've seen that the GW Pharma's stock price was doing quite well in the lead to the announcement, and then it's sold off a bit. I think that's probably because people see that it's going to be about 90 days before the drug hits the market. But by and large, I think you're right that going forward, the companies that are spending more time and effort and attention on R&D and clinical trials, there's going to be some long-term benefits there.
Sure. Do you think that this will have any sort of impact on the federal legislative process towards deprohibition of cannabis?
Yeah, but one never knows when we talk about the federal level of government in the United States. There are lots of legislative changes going on, including Senior Senator Chuck Schumer from New York, who has tabled legislation or is about to table legislation to legalize marijuana at the federal level. Whether it gets through the House and the Senate still remains to be seen, but the discussions are ongoing.
It's not as if all of the states are aligned in favor of legalization.
No, that's true. There's 30 states right now that have a legal framework for some form of cannabis, whether it's medical and or recreational. Only 9 states have a recreational legalization strategy. So it's those other 20 states that may cause problems to get a federal legalization plan going.
Sure. Okay, so what other companies in the U.S. have you been looking at?
Well, when we look at the United States, we think it's important that investors know that each state isn't created equal. There are different licensing regimes. Some states limit the number of licenses they're issuing. Other states are more open and egalitarian. So you've got to do your homework and understand the different markets as well. Each state covers, when it's a medical legalization, each state covers certain ailments. So it may not necessarily be chronic pain everywhere, it may not necessarily be epilepsy everywhere, and you've got to know the different markets. So the other aspect of this is there's an opiate crisis in the United States. It's well known in the media, and one of the states has actually come out and tabled legislation that is basically focused at opiate users. And it's actually the state of Illinois, and they've said, we want to help those opiate users because the number of deaths from overdose from opiates is higher than heroin, about 2 to 1 in the state of Illinois. Close to 2,000 people in 2017 died because of overdose from opiates. So what they've done is they've said, let's recognize the problem, and we're allowing those opiate users, those with prescriptions, to switch to cannabis medication, again, under certain circumstances and going through the proper protocols, but they would be able to switch to medical cannabis. So that's significant in the state of Illinois, and it will probably, we'll probably see that form of legislation in other states.
Wow. So on that note, Charles, is there any companies operating in Illinois that stand to become benefactors somehow of such an initiative?
Yes. So we've invested in Green Thumb Industries, GTII on the CSE.
Okay.
We were fortunate enough to meet them when they were a private company back in April, and they did a pre-public round at $7.75 a share. They then went public, and what was really interesting was shortly after the private round, they were awarded additional licenses. So GTI is in 7 states. They're based in Illinois and Chicago, but operate in 7 states now. They just were awarded 5 licenses in Ohio. 5 licenses in Ohio, and they're also in Illinois, Maryland, Nevada, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Florida, in addition to Ohio. They've got 50 retail locations across the U.S. in those states, and those would be considered more highly regulated states. I mentioned earlier where each state is a little bit different. There's going to be different regimes, different ailments that are covered in each state, and different limitations on licenses. So they're in some really good states, and the Illinois benefit with the opiate replacement legislation could be significant for GTI.
Okay, so are they growers and retailers, or
yep,
what exactly?
Well, so that's a great point. They cultivate, and they also have distribution. So they're cultivating and processing and manufacturing everything from flour to topicals and edibles. They also have their own banner of stores under the Rise trademark. And what's interesting is that their products are available in their dispensaries as well as other company dispensaries. So they're getting really significant distribution in the 7 states they're regulated in.
Fascinating. So it seems to me like the U.S. is heading towards federal legalization. Canada, we've got 10 million feet of planned production. Are you concerned at all that at some point in the future we're going to hit a supply excess that is going to start to negatively impact marijuana pricing and maybe catalyze a bit of a trimming down of the available supply?
Trimming.
Yes.
That's good. I don't think that's that in the short term. No.
Okay.
I think that there's too much discussion, I think, at the media level about planned capacity, and it's good to know the plan. It's good to know that the large companies have ideas, plans, and capital available to build hundreds of thousands or millions of square feet, but those are going to take months and years to cultivation. What we need to look at first is what's current capacity. So the annual current capacity of the Canadian LPs, or the Americans, is a set number. To take it tenfold, and because that's what we're talking about, is going to take a lot of capital and a lot of time. In the meantime, the market is going to be expanding. There will be a shift over time from just dried bud to extracts for consumer products, whether it's beverages, edibles, topical creams, and the ratio of dried bud to extract, in terms of the number of kilos to make oil, is like 10 to 1. So I'm not so sure that we're going to have oversupply in the near term. I think that as the market matures, there'll be considerable demand that outweighs supply for the foreseeable future. But then we're going to also see global markets. So I'm not so sure that we're going to see commoditization in the near term. I think that over the next 2-3 years, we may get there, but we may be pleasantly surprised.
The sector generally has sort of cooled a bit since the Canadian royal assent of Bill C-45 legalizing cannabis for recreational purposes. Is the sort of bloom come off the rose for investors generally, in your opinion, or is this merely a sort of calm after the storm, a sell-off on the news?
Right. I think it's a short term. There's still very exciting news to come, many catalysts in Canada and around the world. In Canada, we're now going to wait and see the larger provincial supply agreements are going to be coming out. So that'll be interesting to see who the winners are. So that'll be a catalyst. Certainly to see the rec strategies being rolled out and when stores open October 17th, that'll be something that will be significantly watched and anticipated. The GW Pharma news in the US, that drug hits the market in the fall. So there's still quite a bit of positive news to come. The activity on the capital markets side is also very robust. There are a number of US companies that are seeking wider capital distribution going public, and it's the Canadian markets that are the desired area for going public given the federal regime we have. So I think you're going to constantly see more companies coming to Canada to list, and there'll be more opportunity to invest. But by and large, this is a 5 to 10 year story. This industry is not going away. And as we saw with prohibition in the 30s and 40s, that business continues to grow significantly. So we see this. We have to remember the future of the cannabis industry is not smokable. It's a consumer products category and will be infringing on many industry incumbents going down the road.
Sure. Charles, we're going to leave it there for now. Thanks very much for joining me today.
Okay, thanks for having me on.
Welcome back. Wait, you haven't gone anywhere? What did you think of Charles? He's a fountain of knowledge or what? Am I right? Am I right? Anyways, I have a guest here. My guest's name is Martin J. Doane, and he is the CEO and director of Leviathan Cannabis Group, which trades on the CSE under the symbol EPIC. I love it. Leviathan, what a name.
It's the best. Yep.
Yeah, like no, I mean, when you say Leviathan, that to me implies like so much scale. Is that sort of part of the thinking behind your company?
That was definitely one of the inspirations. I mean, the Leviathan is a mythic sea creature and very large in scale and a dominator by nature. It's also the title of a famous tract on political economy by Thomas Hobbes, but
that's right. That's where I was thinking.
Leave that aside.
Have you seen the Russian film called Leviathan?
I have not.
Oh well, you're going to have to see that now that you're running the company. Yeah. Okay. So tell me, where is Leviathan located? What's the size of the grow? What's the sort of what's the main business model?
So Leviathan is really a vertical, aspiring operation with a number of assets and a number of opportunities.
Okay.
The first and major asset is in Pelham, Ontario, which is the center of the Niagara region.
That's where I grew up.
Well, there you go. So it's right on Foss Road. There are 2 other LPs on the same road.
Okay.
We have a 30-acre property that was formerly a cucumber greenhouse, and we are building it out to do up to 150,000 kilograms a year of dried flower, as well as
150,000 kilograms.
That's the plan. It'll be 1 million square feet.
Wow.
Phase 1, which we're currently building out and anticipate having ready in the latter part of the fall, will be 20,000 kilograms of production across 165,000 square feet.
That sounds pretty cool. When do you sort of reach that level of production?
So we would reach capacity in phase 1 in or around the spring of 2019.
Okay, so great. The entire market is now, loaded with all of these different companies and everything.
Yeah.
And so as a relative latecomer to the game, what do you think you're going to have to do to sort of elbow aside some market share? Like we just read a list during our news segment of the 13 companies who had been selected to provide cannabis through the Alberta program at the behest of the government of Alberta. So latecomers like Leviathan, what's your game plan for market share?
So look, we have certain, I think, advantages, and our game plan is highly differentiated. We started our life on the CSE on January 23rd, I think trading at 12.15 cents on an RTO, vending in Canada's only cannabis-focused branding and marketing agency called Jekyll & Hyde. Jekyll & Hyde is the first major differentiator. Our group, including the founders of Jekyll & Hyde, have worked throughout North America for third-party clients, helping build their brands, developing their marketing and sales strategies, and that's now an in-house asset that we take advantage of. We both use the agency on a proprietary basis for our own assets, and we selectively work with Canadian and American companies helping build their brands and do their marketing.
That's all the clever names.
Exactly.
Oh,
that's just
very
the beginning.
catchy names, yeah.
So that's number one.
Okay.
Number two, the operation in the Niagara region is going to be a very low-cost operation. So we have an advantage there. We think we'll be able to grow dried flower at somewhere in the order of 70 cents a gram. So even if we sell at wholesale for $3.50, the delta is pretty good. But at the same time, we're probably going to take 20 to 25% of the production and utilize it in Leviathan branded products that will be architected by Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh.
Thirdly, we just announced the acquisition of a pharmacy that has a pre-1954 charter called PulseRx.
Okay.
And PulseRx does an institutional pharmacy business right now. It's a channel business. They currently write prescriptions for old age homes, nursing homes, and soon prisons. And those institutional channels are prime candidates for cannabis therapies. I mean, cannabis has some, and CBD in particular, have some wonderful medicinal qualities for helping Alzheimer's and aging and opiate addiction and everything else, and thus those institutional channels are very well directed. We're also going to utilize that platform, which has just applied for an LD licensed dealer as well, to use it as our dispensary channel, to have our Canadian distribution through this whole PulseRx platform across Canada. So those are sort of the three legs of the stool right now in Canada. We've just opened an office in Europe, just outside of Milan. I can tell you our funnel in Europe is very large, and I expect in due course we will have European assets that fill in certain gaps for us there. And we're also actively sourcing deals in the United States. And I can tell you from an M&A perspective, we have a different approach to the market than most other LPs or cannabis companies. We don't participate in auctions. We have a trap line built up over the last 5 years of unique source deals. We find needles in the haystack, and we don't overbid. You know, you won't see us bidding $50 million for a license in Florida, or, you know, the last great thing in Boston because they're going rec in the next 2 weeks and everybody wants to jump in. We're patient, we buy assets for good prices, we build them organically, and we utilize a strong capital markets team and currency to rationalize and optimize the entire program.
Wow, that sounds like, I gotta say, I sit here and listen to a lot of stories, and I'm going to say that you're the first latecomer to the market that I'm actually really interested in throwing some money in, because that sounds like such a rational approach. The idea of you know, distributing branded products through your own channels in Canada sort of suggests to me that you believe that the liquor agency model is not going to be the only way that people are able to access their cannabis, and I tend to agree with you. Yeah,
look, I mean, you know, we had the Liberal government and their idea in Ontario, and I think most people in the cannabis space, other than the top 10 LPs who think that that's manna from heaven because they have pricing power and scale, is not the way we're going to end up. And I think the Ford government is probably going to push even Ontario towards a much more free market approach. We're going to have all sorts of strata of distribution, dispensaries, small pharmacies, large pharmacies. Online, I think, is going to be opened up over the next 5 years. We want to control our own destiny, and thus we will acquire our own in-house distribution, and our products will be on the top shelves of those outlets. But at the same time, we do feel that the trend is going to be more in alignment with where the big markets in the US are going.
Interesting.
And, you know, we're making that bet.
So, okay, so you're not focused on just the US or just Canada.
Nope.
You're ready for all things. You're in Europe already.
Yep.
Milan happens to be location of my favorite clothier, which is Etro, and so
very nice.
I'll be coming to visit you there, and for sure. So then, now you debuted on the CSE 25 index.
Yep.
So what exactly does that mean?
So look, the CSE 25 index is a combination of the companies with a certain level of market cap.
Okay.
That's a threshold. But at the same time, it's a reflection of, I think, the judgment of the CSE executives about which companies are both the current creme de la creme and the up-and-comers. And it's a mixture. It's a basket. And, indexes are built off the CSE 25, and we were recently put in. And, our stock chart has been quite spectacular over the last 5-6 months. Maybe that had something to do with it. They don't consult with the company. They just tell you you're going on.
You're it. Yeah. You've been selected. Okay, great. You announced that you completed the acquisition of Woodstock Biomed.
Yes.
And what is the significance of that transaction?
So that's the Pelham transaction.
Oh, okay, that's Pelham.
And the fellow Rennie Bideneau had put that application together and had assembled the land. We helped them buy the land even before we acquired the company, and we completed that acquisition essentially on a share basis. So.
Okay. Would you be interested in looking at a 122,000 square foot GMP pharma plant in Fort Erie in the free trade zone?
Yes, we would.
Okay, we'll continue that conversation afterwards. But for now, so what are the sort of the milestones that you're going to shoot for in the rest of 2018 and into 2019 that you think are going to be key to building shareholder value for your shareholders?
So look, I mean, you can't foretell the future. I can only tell you what my game plan is as the CEO, and the game plan right now is to rebrand PulseRx, to inject capital into that platform, both to expand the conventional pharmacy business into larger institutional channels, set the stage for the cannabis therapies going in through not just flower, of course, but manufactured products, whether they're edibles or vaping or different oil products. We're going to build out the Woodstock plant, put that into production at the end of the fall, start building phase 2. We're going to be aggressive in looking in Canada at other assets, potentially Fort Erie now.
Yeah.
And in the US and Europe, I'm pretty committed to closing 2 or 3 major acquisitions before the end of the year to round out really our distribution and our cultivation capabilities.
Wow, I'm really kind of impressed. I don't hear too many people come in here with such a clear idea of what they're going to do, so it's very refreshing. So how much capital have you raised to date?
So we're just completing a $7.5 million round with a callable warrant that will bring another $15 million into the coffers by 120 days after June 30th, so end of October.
Right.
We've already crossed the threshold. The round was price protected. It was announced a few weeks ago. It's being done at 50 cents. The stock is trading at $1.60, $1.70 right now. It wasn't hard to get the round done, obviously.
Is it too late?
Subscribe. We close tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Cut! We got to talk. No, just kidding.
Your advice is objective, I realize that.
Right.
We expect that around a couple of the other acquisitions, we could very well do a larger round. One of our differentiators is that as an in-house group, management and the main shareholders always take down a minimum of 50% of each round ourselves.
Wow.
So, we're leery of distributing too much stock to people who don't have a long-term game plan.
Yeah,
and we're 5-year program people.
Okay.
And so when we place this stock, it's very selective. This particular round, we could have oversubscribed at 500%. We were very selective about who we allowed into the round. I think we took down as principals over 65% of the round ourselves.
Wow.
And so we've done that consistently.
So that's really interesting. I'm really impressed, and I mean, we could go on for hours and hours, but I'm going to leave it there for now because
I can come back.
Yes, we're going to have you back regularly. We'd like to send our crew to shoot your various facilities when they're ready. And we want to invest in your company, so we're going to have that conversation a little bit later.
We're headquartered on the Esplanade in an old cotton factory. We have very cool office space. You're always welcome to come and drink with us.
Oh, woohoo!
The Esplanade in Berkeley.
You might want to be careful about inviting me to come and drink with you because you're going to have to up your inventory quite significantly, especially.
We can afford it.
Okay, great. All right. Quick note to the control room in there. Do we have anything ready to tee up now that we can put between ourselves and the Suzanne 420? Supreme. Here's Supreme. Watch Supreme. Supreme.
Welcome to 7 Acres.
John, I can't believe what's grown up around here since I was here last. This is incredible. What's going on?
Absolutely. So you're looking at our most recent crop of WAPA 21.
WAPA.
This is one of our favorite strains. We expect somewhere in the 18 to 20% range for THC, but more exciting, we expect 2% or more of terpenes. And that's why this room smells so fantastic.
What is it about these that makes them so much bigger than other ones I've seen?
James, to be honest, I wish you weren't the first person ever to ask me that question. But really, this comes down to our commitment to be a premium flower cultivator. This is our finished product. This is not an ingredient. This is cannabis, and we think that that's what's going to make us successful, particularly as we move into the recreational market next summer.
Your focus is on cannabis flower, but the industry, the movement is towards extracts and resins and edibles. What do you say to that?
If you look at US data, the percentage of the pie for dried flower is shrinking, but the aggregate dollar spend is still increasing, meaning it is a growing segment. And number two, we have to remember in Canada, we don't have access to a lot of the non-flower products that they have in the US, so by law, we're gonna be focused towards flower. And third, and perhaps most importantly, people have been smoking dried cannabis flowers for about 10,000 years, and I don't see that ending anytime soon.
John, what the hell are you doing?
So every bud that's grown here at 7 Acres, we make sure that we hand polish it at the end. So we've got 8 weeks of flowering, we've got about 2 weeks of drying, and we have a curing process, but also the team here is going over and polishing the buds. So that means they're taking off any extra leaf, any extra stem, anything that just shouldn't be there to make sure the final product really is as good as it looks. So right now, everything that we've been producing for the last few months at 7 Acres has been for the premium category. One thing that we hear a lot about in the media right now is that legalization is going to be a race to the bottom on pricing, and the only way that we're going to beat the black market is through lower pricing. I think that's abjectly untrue. First of all, the black markets in Canada, including dispensaries and things like that, that's a fully supplied market, and prices are actually quite strong. Second to that, if you go to California, which is probably the most mature retail cannabis market in the world, you can actually go into high-end dispensaries and pay $25, $30, and even $35 per gram for really high-end flower. So for us, I think it's a little bit like when you go to buy a bottle of wine. Saying that everything has to be $8 if we want to beat the black market is like saying every bottle of wine has to be $10 or we're gonna have bootleggers. So James, you're looking at our genetic inventory. So we've actually just pulled a number of seeds out of here to start some new strains. What's interesting, the couple hundred seeds sitting in here in many ways have more value than the couple hundred kilos of dried cannabis behind you. So whenever you plant a seed, you know the strain, but you don't really know what you're gonna get. And that's why we do a process called phenotyping. Phenotyping is where we pop 50 to 100 seeds of the same variety, looking for that one fantastic plant that's gonna be a game changer for the business.
Tell me a bit about these plants in here. When were they born? When were they cloned?
Absolutely. So these plants would have been cloned in late September, early October. Similar life cycle to the flowering plants we saw. This is actually the exact same phenotype. So this is another 10,000 square foot room full of our WAPA 21, one of our favorites. They're finishing up their veg. They're going to flip to flower very soon. and they're going to spend 8 weeks in flower. Over the next couple of years, we're going to take this from, you know, the 30,000 square feet we got licensed up to, you know, our full capacity here, doing 50,000 kilos a year. For that scale, it was very important to us. We spent the last year perfecting treating one of these grow rooms as a single unit. Everybody else is focused on kind of oils and low quality product, because the oddity of pricing in the ACMPR today is many growers actually get a better return growing low grade product and turning that into oil than actually taking the time to produce high grade product. For us, that creates a great opportunity to produce premium flower for the smoke market in medical, but particularly that market in recreational. Cannabis in Canada, $10 billion of it a year, is sold with a very simple question: who's got the good stuff? And as long as 7 acres and as long as Supreme can be the answer to who's got the good stuff, we're gonna do okay. And one question I have never heard in 15 years working with cannabis is somebody walking into a room full of cannabis users and saying, hey guys, who's got the cheap stuff?
Ah! How about that John Fowler, eh? Nobody walks in and says, who's got the cheap stuff? I think, what did he plan that? Did somebody write that for him, Suzanne?
Did you script something
before
that?
No, he just like rips it off his tongue, it rolls off. Yeah. It's kind of amazing. Anyways, you all out there know Suzanne. Suzanne does all of our scheduling, runs the books, makes sure everybody's got their shirts tucked in and their hair's just in place and they're not sweating like a stuck pig and they've got the right screens up on their computer. She is amazing, and so now we've just thought, well, she doesn't have enough to do, that we were going to make her the product princess of all cannabis products for the 420 cannabis moment. Now,
we're a little early.
We're a bit early. Why are we so early?
I mean, we had a whole lineup of guests, and
the guests crapped out, left us high and dry. They're like, "Oh, this isn't real TV. This is just Midas Letter. We can just
That's
no,
okay.
we're gonna
replace them.
We're gonna replace them, exactly. And you know what? If they're too dumb to keep to the script, they're too dumb to be on our show. That's the new policy. If you don't show up, you ain't coming back. Huh. Anyways, let's see. So Mr. Lancelot commented on the video of John, and he said, "Cool video."
Well, we've done a few of those. You guys have visited not just Supreme, but JWC recently. There was a few others.
Yes, if nobody's checked out our list of videos, the playlist of the mini documentaries is actually on YouTube / something or other. I don't know, but it's more easier to watch on MidasLetter.com when the website is working.
Not right now. Don't check it out.
Thanks to CA Cloud. That's the company that you should never hire to run your web service, because our website is down right now. 3rd time in 3 weeks. Thanks, CA Cloud. Won't be coming back. Anyways, I think I made it pretty clear that we're dumping them as a provider. We might not.
In case you didn't know, you know now.
Exactly. So if we just go blank and disappear, maybe we might have, overstepped our thing. Anyways, what else we got here? So you were talking about the products, and Suzanne, you came up with something yet again that we haven't quite heard of. What do we got today?
Well, this is for the kind of the home grower, someone who wants to get into growing some medicinal plants for their own use.
Holy shite!
Well, I don't think this is a U.S. company. They're called Leaf, and it has everything you need to grow indoors or outdoors, wherever it is. So it's the size of a little mini fridge, and there's quite a few. Let's see. Let me pull up their site and their information.
Yeah, it looks pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, but
it does. What's the arm and the leg?
It's $3,000.
$3,000.
$3,000. You can grow at home.
Let's see, how much pot does it produce?
Okay, so one seed, let's say you purchase a pack of 10, White Widow.
Okay.
Pack of 10, I was doing some research. A pack of 10 is $38.
Okay.
Okay, so that's $3.
These are sexed seeds.
Well, you can purchase, I think they come in different, there's like feminized seeds, there's regular, there's auto flowering or auto whatnot. So
really?
Those,
So they're already messing with the genetics here.
Exactly.
Unbelievable. $2,990. Due today, 300. Oh, this is a pre-sale.
Yeah, but it's cool because there's automatic nutrient dosing, pH balancing. It creates the lighting system. You can actually control it from your phone.
Oh my God, there's their phone number. Let's call them right now.
You can control from your phone. There's HD camera.
402.
We're gonna order one and start growing here.
We're gonna order. We're ordering one of these suckers right now. We're gonna grow our own dope right here on the set. Woohoo!
Well, one plant. How much? Let's on average. How much does one plant yield? How many grams?
The
No.
what? What?
No.
The number you are trying to reach is no longer in service.
What? Suzanne? What kind
I
of
didn't do my
operation
due
is that?
diligence. I didn't do my due diligence.
So much for that. I guess we're not
But
getting our
there's-
growing fish.
There's
Holy
a variety. There's a variety of companies that have created these sort of like refrigerated growing pods.
So seriously, these guys are out of business? Like, I gotta check this out. Let's look
Well,
at their
they,
website. What's their website? What's the URL? Leaf Growing Systems. Let's see.
Yeah.
This is just too funny. If their actually phone number doesn't work, I'm gonna try that again. Maybe I did the wrong phone number. Call or text. That's interesting. 1-310-402-2474. Let's see.
Granted, their
WTF.
last, I'm on their Instagram, and their last post was April 18th. So they have been inactive.
So they took a whole bunch of money off of people
Imagine.
and
The
scrammed.
number you are trying to reach is no longer in service.
Do not order from this company.
It looks cool.
They are
Sorry.
thieves and
No longer
robbers.
in service.
Oh,
Okay.
brutal. Okay, you got any more good products for us, Suzanne? What are you working for these guys? What do you get a cut or something? Gee, why don't I just give you
Okay.
$300? You looking for a raise or something? Oh my.
All right. So perhaps this one company.
Okay. All right. So that's a good idea.
But
you know.
there is, like I said, like I
Home
mentioned,
cannabis growing systems.
there's
I'm gonna-
some that are, there's tents that you would have to then.
Tense. I'm intense.
a little
Tense. Okay, home cannabis growing systems.
There's
Let's bring this up
variety
for.
of
Yeah. Okay.
home
So
growing
what do we got
systems.
here? Grow supply, but nothing looks quite as cool as that.
No, I think there was a company also called Cedo or
Okay, let's take a look. Oh, look at these ones. Check out the images on my computer. Control room. Look at these.
Why don't we put on the scan converter?
Oh, is it off again? It crashed. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
This
Wait a
was-
sec. Throw you under the bus again. Okay, let's turn on the scan converter so that we can actually project what's on our screen too, so that you can see it too, and that way we will not piss off the poor multiple run over by the bus
There we
guy.
go.
Look at that. There it is. All right, so look at now we can see everybody online watching us. Hello, everybody.
watching ourselves.
Watching you, watching us, watching you, watching us, watching you, watching us. We do this without
It's a
being
portal.
high, by the way. Exactly, it's a portal into another world. It's like a wormhole. You fall in and if you go visit MidasLetter.com, this is what you're going to see. Yeah,
Well, you
thanks
won't
very
see.
much, CA Cloud. Bye-bye. Nice knowing you. So it seems to me that we're just having this effect on businesses. As soon as we get involved with them,
Yeah,
they go out of business.
apparently.
Like, what the hell is going on here?
But to be fair, there are other systems. This company, Cedo, they do the same thing. It's an auto-grow hydroponics device. So
Okay.
for
Sea-Doo.
Cedo,
Like, is in the Sea-Doo? Like the,
as in a C and I do. I see and I do.
Sea-Doo, how clever, how clever. Not really, but
I don't think
Alright.
they have the same sort of smart app capabilities, but it's all air-conditioned system. You can kind of adjust the lighting. This is for, now that the Senate has approved legalization of recreational
in
cannabis.
Canada,
and
don't forget to say in Canada.
In
'cause we
Canada,
have a lot of viewers in the United States, in states where they can't buy marijuana or smoke it even.
but per household, you're going to be allowed to grow up to 4 plants.
Yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
So this would just increase that, the time factor and whatnot. And obviously, I'm no specialist. You perhaps might be, but for those exactly.
Back in Surrey.
And how long would it how long does it normally take to grow one plant?
Well, if you're growing indica and you're growing it at home, I don't believe you're asking me this. This is fantastic. Usually we would veg for 8 weeks and then we would put it on bud, and that would take 8 weeks if it was an indica strain. If it is a sativa strain, we would actually veg for 12 weeks and then bud for 12 weeks, because sativa takes 12 weeks from start to finish in the bud zone if it's a pure sativa. Sativa is typically associated with the lighter poppier high, whereas the indica is more like the wheelchair body stone stuff. Now, there's been a lot of conversation about that out there. People saying, that's not really true. To which I say, bullshit! You don't know what you're talking about. Sativa always delivers a much lighter experience than the indica does. I mean, unless my 40 years of smoking dope daily has been completely wrong, and then you 22-year-old pierced everything's pointy-shoed guy is right, then I defer. That's quite possible. It could be that millennials have finally figured this out and all us old farts have been wrong for all these years. Well, it's entirely possible. Anyways, what else we got, Suzanne? Let's see. Well, Dylan Campbell is right now one of our watchers on YouTube, and he says the weed is expensive in the States because it's highly regulated. I wonder how expensive he means.
Yeah.
Yeah, how much you paying for weed there, Dylan? Like, I can't believe I'm talking to somebody online. I'm actually looking at you, watching me, talking to you. You're not talking back to me.
And now in the control room, which is kind of cool, you don't see it, but we do. Anytime a viewer posts a question, we can just embed their YouTube comment, their question right into the
show me that. I want to see that.
You would need to go into the control room.
Oh, I see.
Control room.
Well, but I'm watching the stream. I'm watching the stream right now.
Yeah, and they can put in a comment.
So the next time somebody asks a question, it can just show up on the screen?
Well, we kind of go through all the appropriate comments and put them in.
Oh, I see. What a good question. All right, well, that's interesting. Nick G, who is a viewer I've seen watching a few times, he says that you're lucky. What happened to our screen? Oh, there it is.
Difficulties. We're having technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. Look, there's this question popping up.
See?
Oh.
Cats, scoundrels.
I can even comment on my own comments. Oh my gosh. This is just like an egotistical, maniacal maniac.
Every day here is an adventure.
Woo! I'm loving it. Okay, so let's see if our website's back up. Because if it's not, we're going to talk.
Get their together?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the company who is our host.
Not for long though, because we are moving, and we've been planning on moving for a while.
Because they can't even keep our website up. I mean, it's a website. We need our website. It's got to be up. Anyway, so CA Cloud, where are they based, Suzanne? They're based in Vancouver, aren't they?
Were they on the West Coast? I thought it was in. It should be. It's CA Cloud is Canadian clouding.
Huh.
Because we were looking at one that was predominantly based in the U.S., somewhere out in Chicago, and then that wasn't going to work for us because
we need somebody. We need somebody who can keep a website running for us.
Yeah. That we can contact at all times of the day, not 3 hours behind us.
Exactly, and not like, hold on, we'll respond to your email in just a minute. It's like, no, douche, dingbat, dork, we need the site back now! God, what is wrong with these people, Suzanne?
Dylan Campbell, now that I'm looking, he says weed is more expensive than in the U.S. and Canada because of punishments for getting caught. And he thinks the price will drop with legalization, but there will be premium strains that will cost more.
No kidding,
Well, that's the same here in Canada. Premium, it's just going to be more expensive.
Yes.
Speaking of which, someone also comments, I think it was a joke, but...
Hey, watch the jokes, sir. Hey, that's our department.
Someone commented on Facebook, let me see, they're like, Aurora Frost must have been delivered. Not yet, guys.
Not yet. We're going for drinks first, then we get high. First we get drunk, then we get high. Then we get a little more drunk, then we get a little bit more high. Then it's time for bed. Hey, they say that cannabis leads to harder drugs, Suzanne. Has that been your experience?
It has not.
It has not. So you're telling me that you smoke a joint, you're not like, oh my God, I gotta do a line. I gotta smash something into my veins. This is not doing it for me.
In the neck.
Right. In the head. Boy, no wonder there's an opiate crisis.
No, that has not been my experience.
No?
Half the time, I just, depending on what I take or what I smoke, I guess, I either get really hungry or I get very sleepy and I'm out. So,
so you're not one of those people who gets very busy.
No.
I've
focused? Do you just need to like...
Well, if I smoke sativa, my favorite thing to do is play the drums. If I smoke indica, my favorite thing to do is play the piano or the guitar. And I'm not a great piano player or guitar player or...
I've heard. He's being modest. He's being modest.
But I can make a bunch of noise, and when I'm high, it sounds pretty good to me.
Sounds like music.
Exactly. The dogs are sitting there, oh, no, but it sounds like music to me. I wonder, have you tried any of the shatter?
No, but Fraser keeps commenting on that. I have had hash.
Hash. Yeah, Fraser has very...
Not done it, okay?
What?
I just endorsed it.
Oh, come on. That's... One of these days we're going to get a camera into the control room now, and you guys will be able to see
it's a
Fraser.
whole whack of fun in there.
Oh, it is so much fun. We need air conditioning in there, I've noticed, because it's starting to get warm with all the gear. We've got so many toys in there.
And we keep getting more toys, more toys.
More toys. We just lined up a new media asset server. It's got 24 bays, 24 10 terabyte drives that click in, because we create so much content now.
Yep.
And
we're drowning.
It's just drowning and suffocating, and we can't find half the stuff when we want to find it because we've got all these drives around. It's insane. Anyway, so the that growing thing was a real bust. Now, does anybody, I'm going to put it out there, if anybody in the audience watching right now has a good idea for a home growing system that we should look at, we will contact the company, suggest that they provide us one of their systems, show us how to use it, and we will attempt to grow some pot, because we can. It's legal here. Woohoo! And and then what we'll do is we will harvest the plant when it's ready, we will dry the bud, and we will smoke it right here.
Outside the building.
Live, outside. Right, not right here. We're going to do it from outside just because, you know, we're
on the street.
We're kind of in a sensitive building downtown Toronto. We don't want to be turfed out for smoking dope in the wrong spot. Anyways, what else we got, Suzanne? Is there anything else going on in our universe? Did you know we were talking about, let's see if our website's back up yet. Let's see. No, it's not. So that crappy company that's hosting our website called CA Cloud, based in Canada, still doesn't have our website up. What was their name again, Suzanne? CA Cloud?
Canadian Cloud Hosting.
Overpriced, underperforming, don't go there. We're going to keep talking about them until they get our website up. I wonder how long that will take. It'll be interesting to see. CA Cloud? Huh? I wouldn't hire them. Would you hire CA Cloud, Suzanne?
Never again.
Should we keep talking about them, or should we switch to something a bit more entertaining? We're going to lose audience if we keep riffing on poor old CA Cloud, who can't keep our website up for whatever reason. Anyways, there's their website. No, just kidding.
No, don't. Poor guys.
All right. Well, no, it's for us, you mean. Okay, let's go take some questions. Oh, yeah, so some viewers, let's go look at the website. We asked them to recommend some growing system to us. Let's see what they've come up with. Now, you'll notice YouTube is not down. Clearly, they're not using CA Cloud. And let's see.
YouTube is very active.
YouTube is very active. 21 peeps watching now. Tyler Live or something. Oh, okay, there we go.
Oh, that's
hydroponics, best way to grow, says Dylan Campbell. You know,
who used hydroponics that you guys went to visit?
Well, pretty much. Let's see. Who was pure hydroponic operation? Well, I guess the best example of a hydroponic grow we saw was CanTrust. They had a very, very largely automated hydroponic system. We used to grow with hydroponics. Hydroponics is great for yield, and when you get the system dialed in, it's basically you don't have to worry about watering. It's very self-maintaining. But if you screw up the nutrient mix, too much pH, too low pH, or you dose it with too much something, and everything can go sideways in a matter of like 2 hours. You can go down and be like, oh, what happened? Oh, my plants are dying.
That's going to be like a lot of home growers.
Right.
Because it's a science, right?
It is. Home growers, I think, should start with dirt until they really understand the plant and its life cycle, personally, because if you start trying to grow hydroponic, unless it's an automated system that actually works.
Like
then,
Leaf.
Like Leaf.
Don't pre-order.
Yeah, Leaf. Should we try to see if they got their phone back up online? Anyway, so the 420 product hour was supposed to be a home growing system. We found one that is apparently out of business, that has been taking money from people and not giving them their machines.
Always do your research.
Yeah.
It was a cool invention.
It was a cool invention. I mean, the idea
because it
of
automizes everything, and it makes it automatic, and you don't really have to think about it because you just plug in, you know, beep, boop, 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 in your phone, and
and away you go, you're growing weed. The problem is you got to wait about 12 weeks to get high. Yeah, so hopefully you have an illegal dispensary in your neighborhood while you're waiting. You certainly can't buy it in Canada until October 17th. Now, do you have any legal dispensaries in your neighborhood?
I do not.
You don't?
I live in a very
posh, upscale neighborhood?
No. There's just a certain, you know.
Suburbia.
Yeah.
Suburbia.
And so I'm not in the downtown.
Is it close to school?
It is.
Because they tend to give the dispensaries a hard time that are trying to grow or sell weed next to a school.
Subdivision with a couple of schools in the area, and so downtown core has a lot more to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Nick G is suggesting that we look at Autopot. So there's Autopot XL from Nick G. There's a system called THX, which let's pull that up. Let's have a look at that. Christopher Dick mentions THX. The Stoner Socialists, the I Only Want to Grow Under the Sun.
Yep.
Now that's a, that's kind of the, boy, can you tell I've smoked a lot of dope in my life? That's the, what was I saying? What was I doing? Where was I going? What was I looking for? That is the side effect of long-term cannabis abuse. I seem to notice that, you know, I'm like, what the hell was I just talking about? I have no idea. All right, so do you have the NDX scan converter? No.
I do not.
Okay, so what website are you on? Let's take a look at what you're looking at.
I went to Autopot. But this is the U.S. based.
That's okay. We have. Do you know that most of our audience is U.S. based?
We don't discriminate here.
No, we do not discriminate. We love America. My brother lives in Portland, Oregon. My nephew, his son, lives with them. My niece, his daughter, they live all together in the house.
Shout out to the family.
His wife. Hi, family, but you know what? They never watch. I've never heard of them watching. I know. My own brother doesn't watch the show. My own sister-in-law, Emmy, are you watching? No. Why aren't you watching?
Is your mom here?
Where's my mom? I want my mommy. Where's my mom? Mom, are you watching? If you're watching, this is for you. This means I love you, Mom. Actually, I'm going to tell her about this show, and she's going to watch every day now because I'm talking about it.
She's going to tape it.
She is. She is. You watch. Okay, so let's look at this Autopot XL. Who is Russell Starr? Let's find out. James West.
Hey, it's Russell Starr. How are you?
Great, Russell. How are you doing?
Well. You may remember me from Kate and Oren. But I actually work quite closely with Leviathan Cannabis.
Oh, okay. You know what? I've got to call you back because we're in the middle of a live show and we just took your call thinking it would be funny, but it's probably not an appropriate conversation. So we're live on the air right now, so I'm sorry about that.
Leviathan Cannabis?
You want to talk about Leviathan Cannabis again? We just had them on. No, we're happy to talk about Leviathan. We're going to do so in detail in the future, but not right now. I'll call you back in about 20 minutes, Russell, if that's all right.
You got it.
All right, thanks, man. Bye.
Only here will you see the host taking live calls.
That's Leviathan Cannabis. We just did an interview with them. They're closing a private placement at 50 cents. Stock's trading over $1. It's price protected. I gotta get my sub in before tomorrow, and I'm in the deal. Woohoo!
Sign away.
Anyways, let's see. Let's look at this one pot Auto XL. Auto module system. Look at this, $50.50. So this is a single, this looks like a single hydroponic pod. 6.6 gallon pot, comes with an aqua valve. That looks like a pretty, see, like this is a proper, you know, component of a multi-pod growing system that would be appropriate for a basement. Problem with a lot of basements, our basement, we can't grow anything because it's so old that the spider mites move in and start feeding on cannabis, which it's like, it's very hard to get to a good bud when you've got little circuses full of spider mites doing trapeze acts between plants. But so this is $50.
Yeah, but
so in this
just for the pot, in order to grow marijuana, don't you need other components like lighting? That impacts how much you grow, no?
Well, not if you're, let's see, who was it who said, I only want to grow under the sun? The stoner socialist. Not if you grow under the sun. No, you can stick that pot out in your greenhouse.
Okay.
Obviously you need growing medium, which would either be lava rock or rock wool, or could do, there's a bunch of different stuff you can use. And yeah, no, then you just need that one pot growing module. And there it is. Auto pot. Interesting. I love it. Automatic marijuana. But you know what?
Oh, they have a whole
there
system.
we go. This is so this is for this
mass
is for growing.
production.
This is if you want to give Canopy Growth a run for their money. You order this system or a few of them, and you start growing.
Set it up at home.
Let's see how $4,500. Now, basically, there you go. You're in the pot business. $4,500
for 100 pots.
For 100 pots. So if you grow 100 pots and you get, call it, you know, the biggest commercial growers get almost a pound per plant now. And a lot of people who have been growing find that hard to believe. I never used to get a pound per plant. Mind you, we had to hide because it was illegal. So it was, you know, there were guys who could get a pound per plant, but you really got to juice the atmosphere with CO2 to get those buds big. Yeah, that's coming. So Autopot. Is this, let's see if this is the one, has anybody look into an Autopot? Autopot XL, sorry. Okay. The Stoner Specialist says, I adore the dispensaries in Toronto, support local business. Now that's an interesting comment because as one of our favorite themes here is that the ACMPR growers hate it when I talk about it, is the fact that the illegal dispensary network in Toronto is alive and well, and I'm going to show you what I mean right now. If you go to weedmaps.com.
And it's probably growing on daily.
Yeah, well, is the list growing daily? And we pull up maps, and we're going to look at the maps of Toronto. It's going to focus in on my area. So look at that. There are, whoops, whoa, whoops, whoa, whoops, whoa. These are all the local illegal dispensaries operating in Toronto currently that you can buy bud from right now for, what's that, $150 an ounce.
At one point it was $99 an ounce.
Yeah, so 99 bucks an ounce. What's that? Whoa, there we go. $99 an ounce. 4-strain selection.
An ounce.
So you actually get 4 strains. You get to try 4 strains from 99 bucks from Red Eye Delivery. This is technically, I'm assuming, an illegal dispensary.
There we go.
And another one offering marijuana for 99 bucks an ounce. So this is kind of like.
But what happens once it's legal? Well, there's nothing that can be done, right? They can't close down dispensaries.
Yeah, no, that's what they're, if you read Bill C-45, which believe me is not exactly what you're going to call a gripping piece of literature to read, but it has like the penalties for growing marijuana commercially without a license are actually like heavy jail time.
Okay,
like
but then why haven't they shut down all the dispensaries in Toronto? There was a raid not too long ago. There's been a couple raids in the city.
Yeah, no, the problem is that when they bust the dispensary operators, the dispensary operators go to court. The judge says, well, what do you want me to do? How can I bust this guy who is doing something that has just been legalized? Like now you're saying, okay, so before the new rules kick in, there's no guides. So 50% of the busts in the dispensaries are being just thrown out as soon as they get to court because the judges are like, they don't want to open the constitutional quagmire of worms, can of worms, that will result as people challenged on constitutional grounds their right to sell, grow, use marijuana in any circumstances. And I think what we're really going to move to here is the reality where everybody can just get high, can just grow their own weed, can buy it from whoever they want, And in fact, that is kind of the culture in BC, where I lived for 26 years. I mean, when we heard that cannabis was going legal, it was kind of like, oh, that's
what?
right.
It's always been legal.
Yeah, no, it's like everybody in BC is like, oh, well, who cares? Like, we've been acting as if it's legal here for 2 decades. And in fact, the cops stopped busting grow rooms completely back in, like, what, 2002?
Well, you're using more resources to track down grow ops and all this to what? There is no penalty.
Exactly.
There's so much.
The courts aren't convicting. So, like, there's the list on Weed Maps. Look at all these companies. 99 bucks a gram. What's that? A gram. Let's see. 99 divided by 28 equals $3.54 per gram.
Per gram?
So yeah, that's
wow.
So that's their selling price in Toronto from the dispensaries. $3.54 a gram. Do you know who's selling their weed for $3.50 a gram? Who's a legal grower? Nobody, because that's basically they're losing money. Yeah. They say that their cost of growing is anywhere from 70 cents to $2.50, but that's just the cost to grow. It's not the cost to comply with ACMPR. It's not the cost of operations. It's not the cost
marketing.
Of
there's a bunch of other
infrastructure, OPEX, CAPEX people. So I think that Canopy is going to do a fantastic job of surviving and evolving into.
Well, I was going to say, so what happens? It's legalized. The black market is still going to thrive because,
companies
there's
like
going to be
Canopy,
such a
Aurora, and Afria, who are already there with all the supply, are going to have to go head to head with these guys. And either the cops are going to have to shut these guys down, which I don't think you want to go there, because all these people are making a relatively, like it's an honest livelihood, except for these whack-ass rules that say, oh, a corporate can and an individual can't who doesn't comply. Well, that's kind of the quagmire we were in before legalization.
Yeah.
And while there is some merit to the logic that it was the medical desire that got it legalized, it was actually, I believe, the efforts of rebels like those growers in BC. No, I'm not going to say me, but maybe me. It's like the fact that we just we didn't thumb our nose at the law. It was just the law was unjust, and so we thought we're going to grow marijuana anyways. So it'll be interesting to see. Suzanne, it's 4:30. You know what that means?
Home time.
We're done here. We're going to have a nice cold beer.
In the hot sun.
Beer in the hot sun. 40 degrees with the Humidex here in Toronto right now. How much beer are you going to drink tonight, Suzanne?
I don't know, enough to get my core temperature down.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to say I'm going to drink 6 beers before I go home. And I know that
bottle of wine at home.
We got a lot of wine at home. But we're not going to drink wine tonight because we drank wine last night. We bought beer, loaded the fridge, and then drank wine.
Guess where I'm going? Everyone to James.
Anyways, thanks for watching. I would say subscribe on our website, but CA Cloud, that useless host, can't seem to keep our website up, even while we're live on TV. Or I guess this isn't TV. This would be on the web if we had a website. So when our website comes back, after we move to a new host, subscribe on our website. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can sign up for the alerts. You can like us on Facebook. You can tell your friends. You can send us an email. Midas Letter at midasletter.com.
Tell us some companies you want to see. Some product reviews.
Come and hang out in our studio. We're going to be rolling out some great hosts here in the near future. So this is another thing you'll never see happen on TV. Our show's supposed to end at 4:30. It's 4:31. I'm still yakking like a maniac. Like, will I ever shut up? Possibly. How about right now? Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time tomorrow.